At this time, I would like to call to order the May 28th, 2024 meeting of the Hartford Joint One School District Board of Education. We could do a roll call, please.
Here.
Here. Here. Here.
Walking in.
He's here. You'll say your own here. She just did roll call. This is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the district's business. It is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. Any district resident wishing to speak should have filled out a card located on the sign-in table back there and given it to the board secretary, Mrs. Hoffman, over here. Are there any, Mrs. Hoffman? No. Don, would you like to lead us in the pledge of allegiance? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The agenda notes the board's mission of we will support our community through dedicated governance, leadership, and stewardship so that our students achieve. It also states our values and expectations as a board in governing our meetings. The purpose of this agenda approval is twofold. The first reason is to verify that public notice has been given according to state statute 19.84. Mrs. Hoffman, has the meeting been properly noticed? Yes. The second reason for approval of the agenda is to consider tabling an item or to rearrange the order of events. Is there anything that needs to be reorganized or? No, then I need a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as it stands.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. There's no citizens delegation, so we're going to move into district administrator's report. And I will pass it over to you.
Thank you, President Wilk. So the very first district update that I have for you is the peer review mentor grant. That is the grant that's been written by the Hartford area schools for the last approximately a decade. And it has been surrounding the growth and development of our teachers, particularly our new teachers, but we've written the grant in such a way that it also allows for the growth of all of our educators. The predominant activity that we've done has been peer visits. I'm really proud to say that our district, and specifically Central Middle School, has hosted multiple visits this year for both math and reading at the middle school levels. And then additionally, not through the grant, but we have written it into the grant for next year, our elementaries have hosted visitors from the other school districts because they wanted to see our benchmark phonics program. So that's probably the main activity. We've also done book studies. We've also done what we call dine, dash, and develop after school. And so we've done a variety of those in the evenings as well. Those activities have included, nearly 100 participants. And we have had some of our own district staff members who have helped facilitate those events. So it's been a real point of pride for all of the Hartford area schools. So we will find out if we win that grant later this summer. And if we do, it is good for next school year. We did apply for the full amount, which is $25,000. And if we are awarded the grant, there is a 20% match that's divided among all of the school districts who applied. The next thing that I wanted to share with you is our open enrollment application. So if you think back to January, we took action as a school board regarding the number of open enrollment seats that we had available. And so that open enrollment window closed on April 30th. Ms. Hoffman and I have been talking about the applications that we received. Keep in mind that due to statutory requirements and changes, the board no longer takes action in the spring. I just notify you. And so I did want to share, just speaking honestly, I am disappointed with the number of families who have applied for open enrollment out of the district. It is high, and so I have been working my way through the list to contact those families to determine what the rationale is for why they've chosen to open enroll out of our school district. And I can provide that in a further update later this year, this summer, at our board retreat. We do have about 76 families that have applied for open enrollment out of the school district. We do have 33 of those students are currently ours. The rest of the students are not ours and they've never been here before. So they're open enrolling out without ever having stepped foot in one of our buildings. And so I've also been contacting those families to figure out what could we do to get you to stay? Is there anything or is there not anything? And so that's information that I'll be discussing with the administrative team over the summer so we can hopefully reduce that number next year. The next thing I wanted to share is the family survey. So,
Don, do you have a question?
Yes, did we get any that opted in?
we did get some that opted in. Honestly, Don, just being very frank, I focused on the negative, which is open enrollment out, not open enrollment in. So I don't have those numbers for you. I'm sorry. I can send an update to the board. Okay.
Sure.
In April, we had talked about the family survey that we were going to be giving as part of our third tier of getting feedback from students at the middle school level, from teachers and staff members across the district, and now also from families. That's been sent out twice so far, and we do have a parent square set up to send that out as well, so they get one more direct email. We have 64 responses right now, which is not the turnout that I would hope for, but 64 still gives us a place to start and gives us feedback to look at and to review.
Have we reminded people through Facebook or some other way that it's out for them to fill out, families?
No, we've only done the 2 newsletters so
Okay.
far. Mhm.
And not through Parent Square, but it will go. next to
It
Parent
has
Square.
been through parents.
Okay. Okay.
But we'll do a standalone
Okay.
push as well. And then I cannot believe that I'm sitting here with you today and it's already the last week of school. The elementary schools, we already started with field day. Field trips are already in progress. The elementary schools will be holding their award ceremonies on Thursday at Rossman and then on Friday at Lincoln. And then the 8th grade promotion will be on Thursday for Central Middle School at 1:30. You are all invited to attend that. We did post for that in case, I know I've heard from at least 2 of you that 2 of you are interested in attending. So if you are interested, we already have it posted. Again, 1:30 at Central on Thursday. And we do have confirmation that there's special seating for the school board. And you may be involved with something else, so make sure to, dress up and show off being part of the school board. I'll bring your name tags along, so that way you have them if you're there. So then the next thing that I wanted to share was the board updates. And so last week I had emailed all of you about WASB's offering of a 2-part webinar for engaging a community around a referendum project, and then the legal and policy considerations that go along with that. So you have been registered for that. That is something that we'll watch in my office. And Adam and I will also be registered for that, so that way we can process that together. That's from noon to 1, and then from 1 to 2:30, we'll actually have a session with PRA. So that way we can watch that. And if we end up getting people here for that, we might move into this room or into the other room since they're both larger. But I've got all the equipment set up for the webinar portion. And that is June 5th and June 12th. So that includes the referendum workshops and then the board retreat meetings. And those will both be posted. I believe they even might already be posted. And that concludes my report to all of you.
Perfect. Any questions for Dr. Villalobos? All right, then we're moving on to some discussion. So we have a spotlight on learning. And Ms. Morrow is going to tell us a little bit about Red Ribbon Week and Chill Week that happened at Central.
So while she's transitioning, I'm so excited that Allie is with us tonight to talk about both of these events. As you know, Red Ribbon Week has been around for a long time. But Chill Week is something new that I had never heard of previously before Alex brought this to our attention here. And so when I heard about that, we asked Allie if she would be able to present, and she graciously said she would, but was unable to get the dates to work until now. So she will share with you that this happened earlier this school year. Red Ribbon Week being in the fall, and then Chill Week being in the winter. And we're just very grateful to all the work that you've done. Thank you. Thanks for having me come in. All right.
Is it working? Yes,
Working.
okay. Okay, I'm gonna start with the winter chill weeks. We're gonna kind of work our way backwards in the school year. So I'll be honest, I got winter chill week. I feel like credit is due. I went to the Wisconsin School Counselor Association Conference in November, and I got it from River Falls counselors. They did a whole presentation on mental health in their schools. So I kind of took their idea and ran with it. So that's where this kind of comes from. I did not build it from scratch. But their idea was to kind of do it in winter when a lot of kids are struggling with mental health and just kind of making it through the year. So it's a week that promotes awareness on mental health and just positive wellness for kids to kind of focus on. And to hopefully have less stress for the second half of the school year. So there is a theme for each day. You'll see them up there. We did Movement Monday, Tuneful Tuesday, Wellness Wednesday, Thankful for Thursday, and Friendship Friday, which are tongue twisters, yes. And then each day there's an activity that they did in their Wildcat, and then there's also a Google form that they could fill out with a question. And then the next day I drew names for prizes of those kids that filled it out. So I'm gonna go through each day and just kind of explain what we did in detail. So on Movement Monday, they did a movement activity in their Wildcat classes and then had a discussion afterwards. It was really nice just to kind of bop around and see all the kids doing something different, because I think a lot of times in the winter, they forget that they can still be active, even if they're not going outside. But there's things that they can do inside as well. And then these were some of the responses on the right that the kids shared on the Google form. So the question was, name 3 ways you can be more active and use movement to help take away stress. A lot of students said sports, a lot of students said just going for a walk, which I see our kids do a lot. They love doing that at recess, even in the winter, just to kind of refocus their minds. And then Tuneful Tuesday, we kind of promoted music in your class as kids were transitioning, just to kind of ease them in throughout the day. And at the end of the day, we did name that tune, which is a game with our kids before in the past where we play a song over the intercom and then a student name like caller number 7 with the correct name and artist wins a prize. So I think we did Sweet Caroline, which was answered very quickly. So next try, I have to think of a harder song to trick them with. And then Wellness Wednesday, which is kind of a day to reflect overall on how to be positive and have wellness throughout the rest of the year. So they were all given like a coping skills sheet that they reviewed with their teachers in their Wildcat classes as well. And those were some of the responses that they wanted to commit to. In the next month, they kind of made a goal of the different strategies that they would use to help reduce stress. We got a lot of music. I also saw a lot of kids just reflecting on talking with their family, drawing, taking walks again. Music was a big one, though.
Did they request certain types of music?
During the Tuneful Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot of kids like music, so sometimes we have to tell them what songs we'll play at school. I always have instrument music playing in my room, so kids like that. They like typically calmer music while they're working a lot, which is nice. Any other questions? Okay. All right, Thankful Thursday was a day that we challenged kids to shift their mindset on focusing on the positives that they have in their life. I do this often with kids I see individually, so it's nice to do it as a school-wide event and encourage them just to reflect on what they're grateful for. So they wrote a note to someone that they were thankful for and were able to deliver that. And then they also filled out a Google form for me. I got a lot of responses that kids were very thankful for their family, their friends, their teachers, schools, many things that they're involved in. So it was great to see a lot of the responses each day were a lot higher than I expected, which was really nice. And then Friendship Friday, this was probably my favorite day. We do an event at WISCA with the counselors that attend the conference every year where you're given a number on a pin when you check in, and your goal by the end of the conference is to find your match. So didn't do that exactly because I think it would have been very chaotic throughout the school, but the goal was to have kids encouraged to find other students that they might not connect with. So during lunch, they were given a playing card from a few different decks. So they had a few different options of finding their group. And then when they went outside the recess, they had to find their matching playing card and talk to them. So that was a lot of fun. For lunch. Questions on Winter Chill Week? Okay. I did not give you slides for Red Ribbon Week. I'm sorry, I can give them to you if you would like. But Red Ribbon Week happens in the fall every year. It's at the end of October. It's a week that we, again, want to promote a positive way of life. We've in the past used the Natural High curriculum, which gives different videos that we watch during our Wildcat class at the middle school on different like celebrities, athletes. I think we've had some musicians in the past talk about how they've made positive choices in their life and how they did not give into peer pressure and how it got them to those points in their life too. So kids really relate to it because they know a lot of the people that they're watching. So they like to have discussions around it.
Not really a question, just a comment. I think also with the Red Ribbon Week, what would be nice is if we even invited, well, might be a celebrity from
Mhm.
Hartford, if there's anybody like a graduate or, you know, someone that maybe we could invite for one of the days, just to walk around the classes if we're not gonna have an actual assembly,
Yeah.
but maybe something like that, where maybe at lunch, someone could come and, you know, just say, hey, I went to Central and, you know,
That would
here's
be
what I'm
nice.
doing now.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you find those people, but
Yeah.
that would be something I think that would be fun to promote, you know, not only the celebrities, but true people that
Mhm.
also, you know, touch and feel.
Definitely Yeah. Yeah, we can definitely look into bringing somebody and that would be a lot of fun. We've looked at that for the wellness week too, or the chill week. Just weren't able to get something to match up, but that's something that as we look towards next year would be nice for both events.
Awesome, love it.
Great ideas.
Thank you.
Like it. Thank you, Ms. Morrow. All right. So now we have an administrative report from the Business Services Department. So Mr. Majerus will provide a brief summary of the food service program, district office move that we're back in, and summer project status.
We are back in. so hopefully
Yay.
you're, feeling the love from being in the newly remodeled district office. I'll start with food service first and then I'll come back to this office. Food service, as you saw in your packet, we're going to be, you're going to be approving our contracts for the satellite sites, and it's good news in terms of approving school lunch prices. We plan not to raise prices for the 24-25 school year. We're watching food costs, and certainly we have labor and increased labor costs, but we're also with moving to our self-operated program and not necessarily having to pay some of the costs that we have to pay food service management company. We feel like there's probably an offset there, and we're willing to take a look and just kind of let the prices go for next year, see where we turn out. We do have a good fund balance. We are managing food costs relatively closely, and I'm happy with the overall food service department performance as it relates to the financial perspective. So we'll leave those prices alone pending your approval, and then the satellite sites can start their planning for their handbooks and their things for next year as well. So food service director update, we have our job posted. We've received 4 so far, very good candidates to select from. We're kind of in the scheduling interview phase right now. And we would hope that for our June meeting, that you'll be approving a food service director candidate so that we can start the planning and preparation for August. District office move, so we moved in on 17th.
Friday, not last week, week before.
And it went well. Obviously, as you came in, you saw the parking lot is done as well. So that was a summer project that we decided to move up since people couldn't be here anyway. We wanted to make sure and just get that done, and then we don't have to worry about freezing people out and having them park off-site. So we got that done at the same time. we got things moved in. Certainly, it was an adjustment, I think, for everybody. Bring the stuff back from Rossman School. Tech and Buildings and Grounds did a great job bringing our stuff back and getting things all reconnected and hooked up. I think we're still unpacking some boxes and trying to find placements for some things. It's also a good opportunity for us to go through records and things like that and kind of take things maybe in our active areas and put them to storage, and then move the things that we no longer have to keep in storage and destroy those records. So our shred bin's been pretty full the last 2 go rounds, so we'll keep going after that. So again, little things that we notice here or there, but overall, I think the staff in general is pretty happy to come back, and I personally am very happy with the work that they did. Again, the contractors that we used, kind of coordinated through Service Master, everybody was very responsive. When it was time to work, they had multiple people here working and trying to get done. They knew we were antsy to be back and how inconvenient it is working out of a temporary space. And they really did a good job taking care of that. We're finishing up the insurance claim as it relates to that. So the one thing we have to do yet is get kind of our final documentation of the personal property that was destroyed. So if personal property being defined as, all the way from reams of paper that were wet that just aren't unusable to materials, books, any furniture that we feel was damaged. Overall, I think the furniture was in relatively good shape. We have a couple file cabinets that I think have some rust slash some disrepair from moving them back and forth. They tried to move things without disrupting the files, but also makes for pretty heavy file cabinets. I think we've experienced a little bit of damage as relates to one of the ones in people services area, for example. So we're working through that. So we'll finish up that claim so that they can tie everything out and make us the final payment. I think when it all gets said and done, the initial reconstruction estimate was listed at $145,000. I think there was some additional costs for paint in certain areas in this building. So as they put together some of the areas and repainted some areas of the areas weren't designated as lost type items. We had the paint, we had the painters here. We took care of those couple spots while they were here. So otherwise our staff was just gonna have to get the stuff out and do it. So they were here and again, did an excellent job. And then carpeting, same way. There were 2 small areas that they didn't feel were damaged enough. But from our perspective and kind of where they were and what other areas they were touching, we had excess stock anyway, because you have to order certain amounts. So we were able to take care of those out of the extra stock. We just had to pay for some of the labor for them to lay it stuff. So again, I'm very happy with how it turned out. Our deductible is $10,000. They took that from our first kind of claim payment amount. So that's all paid and done. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously not an ideal situation. I don't think we want to be going through that every couple of years or every 20 years, but I mean, things happen. And so we got stuff addressed, and fortunately, again, our staff was A, very responsive, and B, the ones that were displaced were pretty gracious in terms of being able to be flexible and get their work done in not as ideal conditions perhaps, but we have pros, so they took care of it.
It looks great. I think it looks really good.
Do we feel like the problem that started the situation is also?
Yeah, so again, I think some additional safety type items that I think to help possibly prevent that. I mean, again, a sprinkler head's tough because again, once it pops, it's gonna go like crazy and it sprayed pressurized water, for a period of time. The communication issues with the monitoring center have been fixed. So we know, that some of that hardware was had failed literally like 2 days before the thing happened. So certainly being able to get faster communication would have minimized the damage. We would still, I mean, the way the water was coming out, you can't anticipate that we would have stopped it in any amount of time to stay under the deductible necessarily, but at least it wouldn't have been quite so bad. But that was fixed within days, frankly, of the event, so that's all done. We're watching the alarm panel itself here. So it's an older system and it was, let's say, influenced by water, because we could see the dry water inside the panel. It hasn't given us any issues to date. So we'll continue kind of monitoring that, and I've been communicating with the insurance company about what happens if we do start to experience issues. And they'll keep the claim open. And if we just, if we determine through JFA Hearn comes in and looks at our stuff, and they've already looked at our panel once, and taken pictures and have documentation if something happens and it starts going sideways on us, that we can put a claim in for that, and then we'll have to wrestle with the adjuster a little bit. But for now, everything seems to be fine. The roof hatches in the upstairs accessing the roof, we put locks on those just to make sure that we don't have any wind or weather type issues affecting those roof hatches. I don't know if that was the issue or not. It's hard to say. What we know is temperature decreased substantially, and so we're just we're just not sure. We were in this building until about an hour and a half when it happened, but we weren't back here either. So I mean, we don't know exactly what the conditions were other than looking at thermostats and stuff like that. I mean, it's hard to say.
Is there any people in the building at the time?
Not when it popped, there weren't. So we believe it was somewhere around 7:30, just kind of looking at camera footage and stuff like that. And the last people, Tara and I and Amy, all three kind of left at about 6 that evening. So again, if it would have happened the night before, we had a board meeting, we had 65 people in here. So I mean, obviously they shut it down within seconds, but couldn't be so lucky, I guess.
So you know what the defective device, which one it was?
Yes, we can go back there after the meeting's done. I can show you exactly which one it was.
Not there anymore.
Hmm?
It's not there anymore.
Yes.
It's replaced. The sprinkler unit is replaced.
Oh, but the monitor is still here. We haven't switched out the actual monitoring system.
No,
The panel.
Right, the panel,
not the panel, no.
right.
Summer projects, do you have any more questions about this office? The only other thing I'd say about this office and relates to parking lot, we did take care of those couple grass areas, so that was handy. In those grass areas, we did note that when they were dug out, the soil condition wasn't very good. So they did have to do a little bit of digging and finagling around there. Also, as we suspected in this side of the parking lot, the west side, there was an old foundation to an old building there that we knew about, and they knew they were gonna have to remediate that and kind of dig that out of there so that it didn't impact our product. We found another unknown foundation over by where the garbage units are over there. That one wasn't nearly as big, but they took care of that too while they were here, because obviously, again, we don't want to have a bunch of concrete footings and stuff like that underneath our product, pushing the parking lot around. So we were able to address some of those things. And again, they considering it rained pretty heavy, like right after they put the base layer down, they were able to get that in and get that lined pretty quickly. So, and in fact, we have somebody asking to use that area in a couple weeks, which I don't know if you're getting an update on that or not, but
Next week, I think.
but there's a local organization that wants to use that area along with walking through the pathway there, which isn't ours, and making their way over to the park. So if you see people parked in our parking lot on Saturday, that's what's going on with.
Summer projects.
Some, yeah, lastly, summer projects, so, I mean, I think we're in pretty good shape, at this point in time. We have 4 of the projects already done. And a bunch of them are either in process for planning or, kind of design, if you will, or pre-ordering or stuff like that. We have a couple things that just can't start until after school gets out, so like concrete things, we talk to the concrete provider, they know what work we're doing and where we're doing it, and we kind of have all that arranged, but they obviously aren't gonna start until the kids are gone. So, I feel pretty good that, our summer projects are in process, and we should finish in relatively good shape. The one that probably will not get done until mid-fall, pushing up toward Thanksgiving, is the Lincoln bleachers. So you approved Lincoln bleachers, and just the lead times that they take and the install times that it takes. They're going to remove them, and then at some point in time, again, October, November, they plan to install them. So they'll be in plenty of time for the Christmas project, Christmas pageant, or whatever you call
Program.
that thing now. But yeah, so we should be set in plenty of time for that, and they are aware of those deadlines, and so we're working with them, but we're pretty confident that that product will turn out pretty well.
Nice.
Those are original to the building, so it's time.
Platform at Central Middle School. Complete yet?
Yeah, so I'm not super involved with the stuff outside, other than I know they discuss things with Mr. Carroll. And as things continue to happen, we're involved as we need to be. But day of service was a nice opportunity for them, because they're only outside of day of service. It's only a teacher and a couple people coming out to do some work under periods of time that are approved by the high school. Day of service, they were able to come and bring a bunch of kids and get a whole bunch of stuff done that day. So that was a positive. So I think they made some hay on that one for sure.
I don't think it's complete quite yet.
No, we're not complete yet. but
Yeah.
They're progressing.
Work in progress. Any other questions for Mr. Majerus?
Thank you.
Thank you. So let's move on to the action items. Action item number 1, policy second reading 8407, a school resource officer program. This is a new policy for our district. We've already discussed it. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve policy 8407, school resource officer program.
I second.
Perfect. Is there any discussion on that?
So I would just say that Mr. Stevens and I had a really nice conversation with Chief McFarland and then Sergeant Zwicky last week, Wednesday. We reviewed some of the feedback from the administrative team that we had gathered earlier this month. They were very responsive. I felt like it was a really good dialogue. And so Jordan and I have additional information and insights we can bring back to our team to talk about. This policy is new to us, but it's not a new policy to Neola. And we have a signed agreement that was approved by the school board last May, so May of 2023, and is in effect until June 2026. So this policy simply supports the program that we already have in place.
Perfect. Any other questions or thoughts? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 2, professional development 24-25. The professional development is planned for teacher and support staff for ongoing implementation and refinement of district-approved programs while enhancing academic programming and instructional practices that support student achievement. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the professional development for 24-25 at a cost not to exceed $94,000.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
So this is something we've been taking and gathering feedback from our team all year long. And Ms. Malter and Dr. Rogatska have really been working hard. I've been pulled in a couple of times for conversations. The package that you're looking at is about all of the contracted professional development that we have at this time. So that includes Danielle Dickey, that's middle school literacy. He was the speaker that we had come in February, and the middle school team was just had nothing but good things to say. And so this is an expanded contract for him. I start with him because he is the most expensive part of the contract, but what I will tell you is that this is not a one-time visit. This is numerous visits throughout the school year, next year. Some virtual, some face-to-face, some large group, some him modeling instruction, some him giving feedback on our instruction. So this is really a comprehensive package for him, which I'm really excited about. We also have the early literacy coaching in here for Act 20. In terms of middle school ELA, we're also doing, I guess I would call it a simple reboot with readers and writers. And so Sarah Lang is coming in this summer to work with our teachers. We are building again off of Ross Green. So he was here in February virtually. And so we're bringing him in person in August. Dr. Gotska is incredibly disappointed about that because she won't be here. She's moving her child to college that day. So perhaps you'll see him on a future list as well, but we're really excited to bring him here in person. And then the other thing that we have on here is math coaching. So these are all the things that we have booked so far. There are certainly things that we'll be delivering within the district as well. And we might have some additional components to bring forward in the future, or that we incorporate that are either low cost or no cost to continue to enhance the professional learning that we're able to offer for our team of educators.
Any other comments, questions? If not, roll call vote, please.
Ed,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
Barb. Aye. Aaron,
Aye.
and I say aye.
Motion carries. Number 3, Compass Care Services Contract 24 to 26. Compass Care administers and manages Medicaid billing while also organizing records and providing training for district staff. The district has contracted with Compass Care since 2009 and claim reimbursements of $90,000 to $185,000 annually. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the 24-26 Compass Care Services contract at a cost not to exceed $9,600 each year with the current number of eligible students.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
So this is something that Ms. Keneally and I have discussed. This is, again, a contract that you can see as a renewal. It's not a new contract with an outside company. She's been very happy with the service that has been provided to us, so we're bringing it to you for approval tonight.
Roll call vote.
Barb. Aye. Ed,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
and I say aye.
Perfect. Number 4, Deaf and Hard of Hearing Services Agreement for 2024-25. The district has contracted with CESA 6 to provide deaf and hard of hearing or DHH services for students as required through their individualized education plan, or IEP, or Section 504 plan. As DHH is a low incidence need, it is not cost effective to hire our own teacher and have contracted with CESA 6 since the 2019-2020 school year. The cost has decreased by $17,453.50 since we have a decreased number of students needing the services. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the 2024-25 deaf and hard of hearing services agreement with CESA at a cost not to exceed $9,674.50.
Second.
Any discussion?
So much like you read in the opening statements, President Wilk, Ms. Keneally and I have been speaking about this. This has often been done as part of our CESA 6 contract. And so this year we're bringing it to you as a standalone. This is a decrease in terms of the amount that it's been in the past. So it's again, something that we're bringing to you for recommendation.
And the decrease is specifically because there's less students needing it.
Correct.
Okay.
Is there a reason it's to us? Because it is under 10. Isn't it 10 and under? You guys have authority to approve it?
Yes, but it's very close.
Okay.
And so there's a chance that we could end up going over.
over.
So I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that we were being proactive.
Perfect. And if another student came, it would increase.
Right.
Okay. All right, roll call vote.
Aaron,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Barb,
Aye.
and I say aye.
Number 5, Software Application and Educational Consulting Agreement. The makers of EduClimber, our data warehouse, have created a more efficient and less expensive data warehouse called NextPath. That never happens. I love it. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve a software application and educational consulting agreement with NextPath Education at a cost not to exceed $5,949.
We have a second.
Second.
I'll just say, I said this to Dr. Villalobos, I was concerned about the migration of data from the one to the other, but it looks like that's all been discussed already. So that was my one concern with it. Any other?
This is also something that Mrs. Keely and I have discussed. Our EduClimber contract is up at the end of our fiscal year, so June 30th. So we either needed to renew that contract or Ms. Keely and the principals have been looking at NextPath, which, as you stated, is from the makers of EduClimber. They have branched out and created, again, a more efficient product. And so the team agreed that this was the direction that they wanted to head.
Is there going to be a lot of work for you guys to make the switch, or do we not anticipate that?
When we talked to the makers of it, we just kind of enable them to get into the EduClimber
Okay.
warehouse and then they do it.
Set it up for you.
themselves. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Okay, roll call.
Don,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Barb,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and I say aye.
Special Education Software Program Service Agreement. The recommendation is to replace the Skyward Special Education module with SEEDS forms and reporting. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve seats at the Special Education Software Program Service Agreement at a cost not to exceed $82.15.25.
Second.
Do you want to give a little more?
Sure. So right now, Skyward is what we use for our student information system. And underneath that Skyward umbrella, there's different modules that we can subscribe to. One of those right now is our special education portal. The area surrounding us has used SEEDS for a number of years. It's a different opportunity that Ms. Keneally has been looking at in terms of should we stay with Skyward or move to SEEDS. This is something that is used by our pupil services team members. So those teachers of students with disabilities, Ms. Keneally herself, her team. And so this is a recommendation to move forward with that. We felt that the timing was appropriate due to staffing in her department, as well as the reduced cost. And then I told Ms. Wilk earlier, but I've heard that SEEDS is easier to use than Skyward, although I have no personal knowledge because I haven't been a member of the pupil services team.
And we're still using Skyward for all other students. This is just for the special education students. Roll call.
Ed,
Aye.
Barb,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
I say aye.
Number 7, employee recruitment incentive. The district recommends continuing the staff recruitment bonus pay opportunity to help the process in problem-solving ways to fill staff shortages and positions. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the employee recruitment incentive.
Second,
Any discussion?
So I would just say that as I'm bringing this to you today for approval, we looked to determine how this was listed on past board agendas, and it was brought to you for action some years. Other years, it was just notification. Because I'm new bringing this to you as an action item, we've simply updated the language so that way it indicates both you and the recruited employee must remain with Hartford Joint One for a minimum of 6 months. And that you need to divulge or share at the time of application or hiring who the recruitment bonus would go to. You can't tell us later on.
Any other? Roll call, please.
Don,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Barb,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and I say aye.
Number 8, financial statement audit engagement letters. The district is required to have an annual financial statement audit, which is scheduled for July 22nd through 24th. Huberty and Associates, which is also now called Vesta, has completed the district's audit for the last several years. The total cost includes $19,300 for financial statement audit, plus $8,667 for compliance testing and reporting, and $4,178 for uniform guidance, single audit testing. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the financial statement audit engagement letters with Vesta at a cost not to exceed $32,145.
there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion or would you like to give us a?
Yes, I would like to turn it over to our business manager, Mr. Majerus, to say a few words.
Yeah, thank you. We did, through, some questions before the meeting, just wanted to provide you some additional information for context and things. So, first of all, as you remember, there are only about 20 firms in the state that are, approved by the DPI to provide school district audits. That's because A, it's complex, B, there are certain GASB things, and the firms need to be familiar not only with the accounting standards and how they relate to Wisconsin school districts, but also those firms are trained in terms of completing annual reports and documents for us through the portals that DPI has. So for example, when they complete annual reports, we upload information that financial information that's reconciled and fits into the DPI's software and programs. They also have to go in and confirm and check and certify certain numbers as our auditor. So again, just the amount of firms that there are out there, there are only certain firms that are able to do this work for us. What I can tell you is that there are also some auditors who are getting out of this business because it's complex and because there's the engagements are intensive to some degree. They all need to be done for the most part during the summer. So it's stressful, I'm sure, on those firms in terms of staffing and stuff. So just some kind of general information as it relates to that. In terms of our specific audit, I can tell you that the firm spends between 150 and 200 hours of work on our projects. So that's pre-planning in terms of the engagement, actual on-site time. There's wrap-up things that they do. Obviously, they have to get it reviewed by management at their firm, including their partner level, and then all the federal and state reporting that I just got done talking about. So the time that it takes to do these audits is not minor. I mean, it's a significant investment of time, and that's why you're seeing the dollars that you see. It wouldn't surprise me at all that they're averaging over $200 an hour for their work. The kind of the lowest level staff accountants are probably in the $120 to $150 range. Everybody from manager up to partner are between $200 and $500 an hour. So I mean, it's an expensive process, and obviously they're taking risk in terms of reviewing our internal controls, our process and procedures, and able to provide you that key one page that we talk about when it's delivered. That first page talking about an unqualified opinion, that thing is gold. But I mean, it takes them a lot of work and time and risk management to get there to be able to issue that statement. That the other K-8s, I'm sure, have smaller dollars attached to their audit than we do. That's partially a function of, again, we have multiple locations, a much more robust system than maybe they do. We also have components that they might not have, again, the single audit testing and all the federal grant testing that they have to do. That may or may not be a component of one of the other K-8s or other school districts audit. It's based on size, and depending on which area that they have to touch, it could be more or less expensive. I can tell you that the high school, not to get too much into their laundry, so to speak, but their audit costs are over $50,000. Other districts, similar size to us, I know that some of the Milwaukee area schools that I have contacts at, their audit costs are also in the high 20s to low 40s, just depending again on their setup and kind of what we're talking about. A K-12 district that has 4,000 students or another K-8. I mean, we do have one of the larger, I think, K-8s in the area. So again, it wouldn't surprise me that ours is a little bit more than somebody that like a Hartford Lakeside or something, or an Honor that has 350 kids. So it's just, it's a different kind of setup. So, again, we're confident in the work that they're providing you. Hopefully you're confident in the work that they're providing you in terms of their audit, engagement and their assurances to us. And again, I'm not convinced that if we switch firms, that it's gonna be any cheaper. It might be a different set of eyes, but with that different set of eyes, it's also gonna be kind of training them to our processes and systems too. So there, you do lose something in that. So while you might gain with some people just looking at different things, it's going to potentially cost more, especially in the initial, because it's just gonna take sheer time for them to get up to speed. Don,
Just to add to that, considering the recent loss we had in this building, probably not a good time to be shopping around for insurance.
yeah, the audit probably doesn't impact that as much. The insurance, as we're going to approve here in a little bit, it's nearly impossible to do that at this time. I mean, with an open claim, it's not something that is gonna be very doable as it relates to that. And we can talk more about that when that item comes up.
Next on the list.
Yep.
Any other questions about the audit? If not, can we do a roll call, please?
Aaron,
Aye.
Barb,
I,
Ed,
Aye.
I say aye, and Don.
Aye.
Perfect. Number 9, property casualty liability and professional insurance renewal for 24-25. The district has been long-term partners with RS Semler and Associates Insurance Incorporated for several years with insurance coverage. RS Semler and EMC, the insurance carrier, have been instrumental in protecting the district by documenting our needs using accurate data, pricing the coverages fairly, and guiding the district to be a leader in loss ratio. Is there a motion?
I make a motion
Go ahead.
to approve, all of the separate insurance for 24-25 with RS Semler at a cost not to exceed $249,887.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Well, Don started the discussion. This is, you're right. I think it's tough to switch carriers right now, nearly impossible. Any other questions, thoughts?
Yeah, with your permission, it's just some questions that got raised, that maybe you all have as you look at documentation. One of the questions had to do with wind and hail damage. So just so you're aware, we have wind and hail damage on all coverage on all the buildings. So what you might have seen in the specific designations in there, the school buildings, because of the losses, as you can imagine, I just probably need to look around your neighborhood. A lot of people are getting their roofs replaced because of wind and hail damage. Well, obviously, the school buildings with their size and cost to replace those, I think what EMC is doing is trying to mitigate kind of some of the conditions that they're seeing in terms of roof replacements. And they're specifically attaching a $50,000 deductible for any wind or hail events at the school buildings. They're not doing it here. They're not doing it in some of the ancillary buildings, but the school buildings, they are attaching that deductible to. Again, all the carriers, from what I understand, I've talked to a couple of different carriers and they're all doing something similar. I'm actually surprised they didn't do this building, which I mean, honestly is a good thing, because if we have an incident here with wind or hail, that's gonna be a smaller deductible, so that's actually better. In terms of insuring the other buildings, there was a cost in terms of insuring the ancillary buildings, not the school buildings. What I can tell you is that we provide them our overall footprint, and when they underwrite our coverage, they're not necessarily just covering building by building. They're taking the total square footage, coming up with replacement costs, and applying a total dollar amount in terms of property and casualty premiums. And so it's as simple trying to figure out what the costs are broken down for some of the smaller buildings. You simply just take the insured value that's listed in those documents and divide by the total value to come up with kind of a premium dollar per square foot and then kind of multiply it back out. So the cost to insure things like 675 building, the Lou Street property, the property behind Angie B's that technically has a Sumner Street address. The costs for insuring those are anywhere between $1,300 and $1,500. So the cost to insure them, even at the insured replacement value that are listed, the dollar amounts just aren't necessarily super significant as it relates to the total. Those are full replacement costs. So we would be able to recapture, current dollars that it would take. I don't, what the property behind, Angie B's, for example, what that property is worth to us might be something different than what, again, the insurance replacement value would be. To replace that steel building and replace that square foot coverage, I mean, it might be more than what, again, the market value for that building is. We know when we got it, it was $200,000 transaction. Is it worth 250 or 300 today? Yes, I would guess so. But we're insuring it for much more than that, partly because we have had contents down there. So as we move things in and out of there in terms of storage, at any one time that we have in there, it's kind of undetermined. So we just want to make sure we have the right coverage and enough coverage depending on A, what's there, and B, or contents wise, what's in there. Same thing with Lou Street. Again, we're not actively using that property at the moment. We did use it to have our stuff in it while we were moving around and jockeying around this building. So, I mean, you can't really move the insurance coverage values kind of for those things. So again, to replace a block building like that, I mean, it's gonna cost quite a bit of money. Is that the market value of that building? I don't know that I'd go that far necessarily, but I mean, it's gonna be expensive transaction. So if we get something that happens, at least we feel we're financially covered, and frankly, we probably win on that deal, to be honest. So again, we've looked at the coverage amounts. It's just straight up off calculations. They take the square footage and they take what the current contractors kind of prices are to replace, and that's how they figure it. So again, is 675 East Rossman Street, is that property worth what we're insuring it for? We know that that's not the case, but again, we're also talking $1,200, and it's a good safety net in case something happens.
What are these buildings, number 5 at Western and number 7 at Wilson?
So some
Where's Western? I don't even know.
So some of the properties that they refer, that we're not necessarily insuring our property there. So those sites specifically are 4K sites. What we are insuring there are our stuff that's there. So, and
That's a
again, the
personal
cost
property
for
for that,
those
right?
things are minimal in terms of personal property. I mean, at Dream Center, for example, if we had $20,000 worth of stuff there, I'd be surprised, frankly.
Yeah.
Same thing at Sycamore Tree. So, and same thing at City. So, but we do insure our stuff that's there in case they have an incident, because we need to at least make sure that our stuff is covered.
Okay.
On page 6 of 16, just where it has additional insurers, PTO, school, booster clubs. Obviously, we've been talking about bringing on sports. Is that going to be part of that umbrella as a club organization, and do we have enough funding for that?
I don't know exactly which page you're on.
Well,
It says
mine
six on-
says 6 of 16.
Yeah.
And it says exposures and location, and then it's line item 87,698 additional
Yeah, I got-
insurers. I was just curious, like, do we have enough insurance to handle if we do, bring sports back?
So what I'd say is, so we maintain coverage that, again, is kind of industry standard. We also force the renting agencies to have insurance for their activities as well. And that's set by board policy. So if you looked up the policy and the guidelines for that, the coverages in terms of the deductibles and the, occurrence limits and things like that. Set by board policy. So we believe that based on the activities that we have / plan to have, this coverage would be adequate.
And that's including the co-curricular sports going forward. Okay,
Perfect. Thank you.
all right. Roll call.
Don, Aaron,
Aye.
Barb,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
I say aye.
Perfect. Number 10, food service prices 24-25. It is recommended that the food service prices remain the same for the 2024-25 school year. Current costs are $1.50 for student breakfast, $2.60 for adult breakfast, $3.05 for elementary lunch, $3.20 for middle school lunch, $4.65 for adult lunch, and 40 cents for milk. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve no charge to the first food service prices for the.
No change. Not no charge, no change. You're gonna charge something.
Excuse me. I'll start over. Motion to approve no change to the food service prices for the 2024-25 school year.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I think so. I think we kind of covered it all.
Not really. What I'd say is we're monitoring that too. The school districts in my Southeast Wasbo group send things out on that annually. There's one out right now. I can tell you we're higher than some, we're lower than some. I don't think our prices are outrageous. The middle school, especially considering the choices they have and the items that they take, I think we're a pretty good value kind of all the way around. So again, with the costs that we plan to recoup from not having a food service management company. I've talked with the food vendor, I've talked to the bread vendor, I've talked to the milk vendor. We're confident that pricing is gonna be as good or potentially better than being a food service management company, partly because that, I mean, those companies are big and they're somewhat difficult to deal with. And, they get priced accordingly, frankly. So I think, we'll see some definite positives to going to self-op.
Question,
Yes, sir.
the adult lunch is $4.65. Is that because the portions are bigger or because they're not subsidized by any government
Both.
agency? Both?
The answer to that's
So is the adult lunch the same as if a kid gets double entree? Anyone know that?
I can tell you that
Not letting your kid have double entrees.
if the adults ask for
Does that?
a different portion, our staff does a pretty good job knowing where that line is. That's all I'll say.
So how much did we save dropping Taher?
That's a good question. What I can tell you is, the food service director, which we pay, cost plus a factor. So we'll no longer be paying set factor. We offer the Taher person similar benefits or pay Taher to provide them similar benefits that we have. But they do mark that service up. They also charge us a management fee and it's somewhat dependent on the lunches that they serve. So by counts of meals. And those costs are anywhere between 35 and 50,000. So
Well, I'm happy to see this. I have,
we'll have additional costs. Obviously, our people are gonna have to, we order the food now, but we're gonna have to do all the invoicing and paying of invoicing. So that's one thing that happens through Taher. Recipes and documentation, things like that. They have a set system where we develop a system. Fortunately, DPI provides a lot of good templates, a lot of good documentation. We're not concerned necessarily about getting recipes that are USDA approved. We feel like we have a source for that. So again, it's just to the point where we're finding less and less value with what they can provide us and what we feel we can just take care of.
Will there be different food options? I have to say, I'm a little disappointed when I see the weekly meals. They're pretty much the same week after week, not a lot of change, which I get consistency and obviously costs. But it would be nice to see a couple of new things, maybe once a month, a new entree of some sort to get some different, instead of just a hot dog and pizza
Yeah, so
always.
what I'd say is per my direction, based on the fact that we have a substitute food service director. We want to make the process as simple for him as possible, knowing that we might be giving up some of the flashiness that Jill or her staff. Certainly, we know they have the ability to do
Yes.
so. But it's also, again, with a new food service director kind of walking in, trying to figure out where our people are ability wise. Or how we're ordering food, what we currently had in stock at the time.
Sure.
Trying to run the freezers kind of down at this point in time. Again, this week's lunches are gonna be.
Yeah, I'm not
Pretty
talking
basic
this year, I'm
lunches, but-
talking for next year. I hope
Yeah.
to see
Having,
some
having a-
additional meal
our
opportunities.
our food service candidates are all. Either people with bachelor's degrees and have experience in food and nutrition or hospitality. Or they're 20+ year experience in terms of candidates, so I don't have any doubt in my mind that the candidate that we end up landing on. Will be a quality candidate that can enhance the
Menu.
lunch options. I don't plan to change the number of options necessarily. We'll still provide 2 at.
Elementary.
Lincoln and Rossman.
Mhm.
We offer more choices at Central Middle School, partly because again, they're using a product and doing different things, so the middle school kids do get some more choices that the elementary kids don't. But that's again, partly just using product up and more than providing additional variety, but.
Will the new vendor also give us some opportunity to have some more local farmers and bring in some of their produce?
I'll let the new food service director determine how much they want to take that on.
Sure, and I just think sometimes it's really nice to partner if you can, even if it's just maybe one vegetable or something for, a week. That's, when they have surplus. I think it's good to show kids that it actually comes local.
I will give credit to Taher and when they did their harvest of the month or
Yep.
things like that. I do think those things have value. As long as we can devise menu choices and options for kids where they're going to take it and eat it and appreciate the opportunity to try new things. If they're going to dump the stuff in the garbage can.
Right.
We already are kind of sick by how much food gets wasted in terms of that, so. We'll balance it. Again, these candidates, I have confidence that they'll be able to manage that process.
Well, if we vote for this, does that mean I won't get any more cards from Tower anymore?
Well, what we're voting for right now doesn't really impact that, but
Yeah.
correct. I would imagine, unless they do want some, maybe you're on their permanent list and they'll keep on sending you on.
Maybe you're on the permanent list.
You never know. Okay. Roll call, please.
Ed,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Barb,
I,
and I say aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Number 11, food service contracts 2024-25. The district currently has food service agreements with Happy Hollow Learning Center, Peace Lutheran School, and St. Killian School. The recommendation is to hold the per meal prices for all of these contracts at the current levels and increase the delivery charge for Peace Lutheran to be in alignment with their costs. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the food service contracts for the above schools for 24-25.
Second?
Second.
That beat you.
It's fine.
Any discussion, questions?
Why is Peace Lutheran out of alignment?
Peace
With
Luth-
the other
Peace-
school.
Peace Lutheran gets their meals delivered, whereas St. Killian's and Happy Hollow pick them up.
Oh,
So what we're increasing there is just their delivery charge to make sure that we're covering
Gas.
additional costs of gas, et cetera, et cetera. So their meal costs are staying the same, and the amount of delivery charges minimal, frankly.
Can we do roll call, please?
Aaron,
Aye.
Barb,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Don,
Uh,
I say aye.
Perfect, motion carries. Number 12 is the co-curricular handbook for 2024-25. Mr. Stevens is here and he has created this handbook to guide athletic, club, and other co-curricular activities which provide students with special opportunities to promote their mental, physical, social, and emotional development. Included in this handbook are participation requirements, fees, code of conduct, and statutory information. Is there a motion?
motion to approve the 2024-25 co-curricular handbook.
Is there a second?
Second.
Perfect. I just have to say, I thought it was really, I'm excited to see our first co-curricular handbook. Done, ready, it's exciting.
It is. So this is based off of the school board and administration kind of survey that had been put out by Dr. Smits and Mr. Majerus last year about where the board's priorities. And one of those priority areas was co-curriculars in the middle school specifically. And so Mr. Visti, when he was here, Mr. Steven, Mr. Majerus, and myself, and a couple of members of our community had several meetings to talk about co-curriculars and how we could go about reintroducing them into the schools. And so Mr. Stevens has really taken the helm and done a nice job putting this together. He's also worked with Dr. Gatsa to craft some of the handbook, but he has taken on the bulk of this. He and I have had a chance to talk about this, make some revisions, and then talk about what does this look like moving forward. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to you, Mr. Stevens, to just share briefly about the co-curricular handbook.
Yeah, so I took a look at number of Hartford area schools as well as the Hartford Union High School, and tried to pull the pieces I thought were most applicable. Part of what I appreciated most of all working with Dr. Villalobos is her high expectations. So I try to incorporate just that academics and just our code of conduct. Those pieces in here, we did have, so the Braveland Conference has extended an invitation for Central Middle School to be a part of that conference. A very robust conference as far as area schools. Really the bulk of the feeder schools as part of the North Shore Conference for the level. So 24-25, we're looking at cross country and track and field. I've already gotten confirmation. So I'm excited about the opportunities coming for students for cross country in the fall. Clutch Park invites in Glendale, one Milwaukee River, Menominee Falls, Rotary Park, one Menominee River. Couple beautiful parks for those people that have been there. So cool opportunities coming to our kids. Feel good about the handbook and kind of where to next. So I know in planning, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. So really see how year one goes and have a phased approach. So it's really cross country and track and field next year, and then looking at possibly adding basketball, volleyball. 25-26 school year. As far as like the conference will have to talk about alignment. We'd be the 16th school in the conference, so Slinger, Richfield, West Bend, Badger. So initial phase of the kind of talking conference alignment, it sounds like a 4 kind of north, south, east, west kind of pairs of 4. So again, that'll have to go through the Braveland Conference. But at this discussion right now, it sounds like we might be paired with Richfield, Slinger, and Badger Middle School. So I think it would be kind of a great fit. So I'm excited about current status and what's coming as far as opportunities for students.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Tom.
Do we have any coaches lined up? It sounds like the program is really supported financially by the parents, not the school.
Yeah, so I would say this is our first step. I'd say that summer work as far as right now sports are club. We have great community support as far as parents. We even have a couple of staff members, Miss Morrow, that's assisting with one of the club track and field programs that's taking place right now, so there's definitely staff and parents involvement that I feel very comfortable that we'd be able to attract and retain high quality coaching staff.
Is this also planned for the fall of this year or the spring of next year?
So the plan would be this fall, so fall 2024, cross country would be our first sport to welcome back. And then spring of 2025, track and field.
So this next school year, we'll have boy and girl sports both in fall and in spring, which is exciting.
Correct, so the co-ed boys and girls, 6th, 7th, 8th grade for cross country, track and field.
I just want to say, I know that this has been an initiative. Don and I have been on a couple of committees talking about this for the last couple of years, I feel like. So this is a very exciting, big step forward. So I'm thrilled to see where it is.
Not surprised that the two people in the general public that were supporting it aren't here tonight.
We've been in contact.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, one of them particularly keeps us updated about the goings on of the program that they're assisting with right now, the same one that Ms. Morrow is assisting with. One of the things too is that, like Mr. Stevens indicated, this is a tiered approach. Not only in terms of the rollout of the sports that we'll offer, but also this is the first step. We have the handbook that we're presenting to you this evening. And then over the summer, we also have a list of policies that would need to be either updated or added, because we've never had them in this district before, for our co-curriculars. So that's the next step. If you approve this evening, then we'll start looking into those policies as well, and we'll bring them to you with the next round of policy updates.
are we going to form a policy committee with the board? Like we have in the past?
The route that I would intend to take would be that we go through them administratively to determine what policies we're lacking in, and then we bring those to you for approval. Just like we did with the last 2 rounds of policies this year, where I gave you a little over a month to review the last set of policies.
And because it's new, it'll still have to go through 2 readings, I believe, right?
Yeah, if for any new policies, yes, it will require 2 readings. For any policies that are just revisions where, for example, student clubs and activities, it might have had student activities, but it didn't, or it might have had student clubs, but it didn't have activities that included sports in the past. So it would be a revision to something like that.
In light of situations that have happened in the last week with ineligible students going to events, I see here it talks about Skyward and that's where the information will be. Is there a place also that we will have a note in here? I didn't see it. That parents will be notified, or how will they be notified if their child is in
No.
danger of not participating in something besides Skyward? It's not in the,
Like student would be ineligible for academics, for example.
they have 2 Ds or they have an F.
So I would say like a lot of that would be filtered through the coach, so like our office staff would give the grade
The
report.
coaches, the information.
So the coaches would be responsible to communicate that with students, parents, obviously, it could be filtered out through administration.
Right.
Myself, as far as athletic director, there's concerns with that, but I'd say the coaching staff would be the first point of contact as far as an ineligible player.
Will they be able to use Parent Square the same way the teachers do now, where the coaching staff would have that access?
I believe so. My hope
Okay.
is honestly that we get staff involvement and really
Yeah.
our teaching staff
Right.
is
We have it
involved
already.
coaching. Obviously, that's the ideal state. So
Sure.
once we get to the point where we have multiple sports running, we might have to look kind of outside.
Sure.
For educational staff, but right now in our building, I think we have people interested, especially in cross country and track and field. So I'm excited about just that partnership and tying it to high expectations for students and as well as that relationship piece inside and outside the school day.
I don't know if I saw anything in here that had the word coaches would also have access to that. I'm just, again, just trying to be proactive in situations that have happened, that I want to make sure that, you know, a student or a parent or, you know, anyone who's concerned that someone was left out or they didn't know, that we have given all of the avenues in which they could look at their grades. So I don't, if you're gonna add coaches, then maybe we need to create a line that says, and coaches will also be able to see skyward or see the grades.
And I think what Mr. Stevens is indicating is that would be a possible venue or vehicle, but not necessarily, that's not necessarily something that would need to go into the handbook because that's a process. Not part of the why are kids eligible or ineligible. Did you want to mention your versus A?
Oh, I did have an edit in the co-curricular handbook where it said, pull it up, because I don't have it up. It's about where it says the musical, may include the musical. And I know that it historically has been its own club and that we might be under a tight timeline to turn it around to be incorporated. So instead of saying the musical, I just thought maybe it might include a musical. So people don't like, it's not happening, we're not doing it. This doesn't mean it's canceled. It still could happen within Mrs. Garrity's club separately. That was my only concern.
As far as coaches go, are we going to have at least 2 coaches for each?
So I'll answer that then. It would depend on the number of students that we have go out for the sport, because if we have 5 kids, we're not having 2 coaches. If we have 25 kids, we might have 2 coaches. So it'll depend on the number of students that are interested in participating. And then we would also have to update our policy for that too, because most school districts will have a policy that indicates staff members have priority if they would like to be coaches before an external individual would be able to come in and coach. So we'll have to include that in our policy as well. So we'll do that much like we would do with a guideline in terms of field trips and the number of chaperones that are needed. We do the same thing with coaching.
And I love all of this conversation, but right now we're really just voting on the approval of this handbook.
Correct.
And I'm assuming these more conversations we will continue to have as we move down the road, if this gets approved.
Yeah, if this gets approved and there's anything that needs to happen policy wise, that will come back to the board. If it's something about how we would communicate out, that would be between likely Mr. Stevens and Dr. Ragazza, perhaps pulling in Mr. Majerus and I, especially if it has to do with fees not being collected or things like that. But if it's something that involves the board, we would bring it back to you.
Yeah,
I think,
there's a lot of work left. I mean, again, with
right,
transportation issues, equipment, the uniforms, all the things that need to happen in terms of actually providing this opportunity. So again, step one is getting kind of the expectations down and the framework of how kids can and won't participate. But yeah, there's
Yeah,
plenty-
$40
there's
and
plenty of
cover
work
about.
left.
No.
I would say,
Yes,
even if it doesn't have to come back to the board, I'm speaking for myself, but I think you might agree, Don, that we might want to hear a report come July or August about where we're at, what's going to be, even if it's not in action items, but just as a discussion, because I certainly am interested in knowing what it's going to look like and being able to talk about it with parents and all that.
And I would tell you, I'm probably not on board for bringing back Mr. Stevens in July or August. However, that being said, because he's going to be busy with other things. That being said, you got to hear from Ms. Morrow this evening about counseling. And so I think that the school board wanting to invest in athletics and co-curriculars, that would be, while it's not teaching necessarily, it is an extension of our school day. And so that could be an opportunity for a spotlight on learning where he comes back and shares with you. Hey, we're up and running and this is what it looks like.
Okay, we need all in favor. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, moving on to number 13. Resolution authorizing the transfer of funds, the establishment of an escrow account with respect to, and the defeasance of certain of the general obligation school building and improvement bonds dated March 12th, 2019. Administration recommends the 2.5 million prepayment, which is defeasance, of some of the district's bonds. The district has accumulated the money through previous tax levies, and in anticipation of potential future bond issues, it is an appropriate time to escrow the money with the trust agent. The payments falling in this year will be a positive development in the state aid shared cost calculations, which benefits our district. Fund $39 will pay the financial advisor, bond counsel, which is legal, and CPA verification costs, and is included in the escrow payment. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the resolution authorizing the transfer of funds, the establishment of escrow account, and with respect to and the defiance of certain of general obligation school building and improvement bonds dated March 12th of 2019.
Adam, give us the short and sweet version.
We need a
You
second.
need a second-
Oh, yeah, right.
you need
Sorry.
a second first, and then I'm happy to do.
Sorry, I had to say something.
Second.
Ed, second, go
Yes,
ahead.
we need some clear.
So what's happening here is, again, so we've levied money over the course of time to pay for bonds that were interest and principal payments that we make. We have an accumulation of dollars that we want to essentially prepay these bonds. So just like your mortgage payment at home, if you have some extra money and you choose to pay off some of your mortgage balance, you'd send in a payment to do that. This is obviously much more official practice, a way to do that. So what happens is we take our money, we put it in an escrow, which is an associated trust, which we already use for bond escrow services anyway and making payments. We place that money there, and what will happen is actually we will buy investments, short-term treasuries and short-term state and local issues. And those monies will sit there in the highest rated vehicle that you have, so that it's there, they know the money's there, and they'll make payments out of this escrow account as needed. So on our books, it will look like the debt is gone because we've contributed the money and we've made those payments. We'll actually save the interest costs on those, because again, the payments will be made in the future. Those bonds will be wiped out at their first opportunity. And so instead of letting these bonds just sit there and accrue interest, kind of the interest clock stops now. So A, we'll recognize some interest savings. B, again, in order to be able to possibly structure new debt and things that the district might take on, we want those bonds to kind of be off the books and out of consideration. So this is the mechanism, the vehicle for doing that.
Any other questions? Roll call vote, please.
Barb,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
I say aye.
Number 14, consent agenda. The consent agenda includes approval of minutes, bills, treasurer's report, and personnel recommendations. Is there a request to pull an item from the consent agenda? No. Then I would need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda that includes the approval of minutes, bills, treasurer's report, personal recommendations.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Ed,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
Barb,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
I say aye.
Perfect. And now we need we're gonna motion to move into closed session per Wisconsin statute 19.851 CE for the purpose of discussion and potential action of employee resignation agreement. And B, for approval of March 19th, 2024 closed session minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call vote.
Barb,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
I say aye. Don,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye. All right, we're moving to closed session. All right, we are reconvening back in open session. We did take action on 2 items, which both passed. And everyone has a board meeting and reflection feedback form in front of you. There was data from the last ones included in our packet if you want to review that. But make sure you pass this back to Mrs. Hoffman or Tara before we leave. And then I need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We're adjourned.